y'all done. What's up, y'all? Going to pick up some jerk chicken. I got a 2-for-1 special today. But man, have y'all heard this new Kendrick response? Now I'm gonna be honest. If you go through my page, right? If you go through my page, you'll see I've been making some videos about Drake's diss towards Kendrick, about Kendrick's lack of a response and things like that. Just poking fun at the whole situation, right? Just poking fun at the whole situation and what's been going on. And prior to hearing this track by Kendrick, I really didn't know what to expect from Kendrick, right? I didn't know what to expect. The reason why is because I haven't heard Kendrick really come out with a diss track. I've heard him kind of sneak diss or talk about somebody in a track, but I haven't really heard a dedicated diss track from Kendrick. Maybe it's out there and I just don't pay enough attention, but I haven't really heard it. So prior to listening to this, all I had to go off of was what Drake was saying, his song. And what I'll say is, I like Drake's response to Like That. I like the track that he made towards Kendrick. I thought it was clever with the AI of Snoop and Tupac's voice. I thought that was clever. I know a lot of people didn't like that. I thought it was clever. I like his original one, where the push-ups one, where he was kind of going at the industry and people like that. So I liked Drake's responses. I thought they were good. Thought they were playful, things like that. This Kendrick response, Euphoria, and if you have not listened to it, go listen to it. Euphoria, I think that Kendrick destroyed Drake with this. And let me explain why. I think he destroyed him with it. Because when I think about what Drake was saying towards Kendrick, pretty much he was saying to Kendrick, you're short, you wear shoes that are small, and I make more money than you. That's essentially what he was saying, right? Here's the thing though. If you're short, as a grown man, if you're short, you've been short your whole life, that's not really a diss, right? That's not really a diss. Calling somebody short 2024 is not really a diss. It's just kind of poking fun at. All right, cool. Another thing. Kendrick is a millionaire, right? We can all agree that Kendrick likely makes more money than 99% of people. He's probably in the 1% of earners, right? Outside of some weird thing where he's not getting paid or whatever. But I would assume Kendrick makes more money than most people. So Drake talking about how Kendrick doesn't make as much as him, or maybe he's not getting as much money on his splits with the rap game, I don't really consider that a diss to the average person, because how are you going, like, as a listener, as a Drake fan, right? And I consider myself a Drake fan, but as a Drake fan, if you are listening to that and Drake is like, oh, Kendrick doesn't make as much money as me, you can't really talk down on Kendrick because Kendrick probably makes more money than you. Like the listener, the fan. So that's not really a diss. Talking about someone's money because you make more than them, but then that person makes less or makes more than your fans is not really going to come off as a diss, because you can't really talk down on Kendrick if you make less money than him, which most Drake fans do. Most people do, to be clear, not just Drake fans. Most of Kendrick's fans probably make less money than Kendrick. But where I'm going with this is, Kendrick's song, I think, was poking at a lot of insecurities that Drake has likely had or has over the years, right? The fact that Drake isn't from the United States, he's from Canada. The fact that in a lot of Drake's songs starting out, he came off as more of the R&B pop guy, more of like singing to get females and rapping here and there to get females, and has shifted more into the I don't want to say tough guy mentality or mode, but like, don't cross me and I'm about that action and I got shooters and I got killers and things like that. That wasn't the Drake that we knew who came in the game, that Lil Wayne signed. And I think there were interviews where Drake was even saying that Lil Wayne told him not to change. Don't switch up. Don't let the industry make you feel like you have to be something that you're not. So I say all that to say, what did Kendrick actually say towards Drake? What did Drake say towards Kendrick? Like I said earlier, Drake said, Kendrick, you're short. You wear small shoes and I make more money than you. Okay. And he brought Tupac and Snoop's voice into it. All right, clever. What did Kendrick say to Drake? Kendrick said, we, the culture, we don't mess with you like that. That tough guy act, we don't mess with you. You're from Canada, right? You walk around saying nigga, and you're not really from that background. You came over here to the United States and pretty much tried to bite off of hip hop culture. You didn't come from that, but you pretend like you're about that life. Kendrick came out and said, hey, you're not a good father. I didn't have time to respond to you because I was raising my son. Something you wouldn't know about. These are Kendrick words. You wouldn't know about that. I'm raising my son. I'm teaching my son morals and values and things like that. And what are you doing? Out here sleeping with all these women that we wouldn't even respect and call real women, right? So I think that Kendrick, as far as I base it off of who's going to be thinking more about what the other person said, Kendrick or Drake. I don't think Kendrick is going to hear the Drake diss and be like, I'm short, I have small shoes, man, that really hurts me. Like I said, if you're short, you're a grown man. I think Kendrick is in his mid 30s. He's been short his whole life. That's not really going to hit him where it hurts, right? That's not really going to hit him where it hurts. Whereas Drake has likely, growing up in Canada as black, he's likely been faced with identity issues his whole life. Being light-skinned in Canada, not fitting into being white or black. I think his mom is white. So having a white mother and you're the only black kid in your class or one of the only black kids in your class and they're making fun of you. And then on top of that, you're coming into an art form that's dominated by black people. And I want to make it clear, Drake is black. In my mind, Drake is black. I'm not saying Drake is not black. Drake is a black man. I'm just speaking to his upbringing and how the identity crisis could impact maybe some undealt with trauma, maybe some trauma he's still dealing with now. But Kendrick likely didn't have to go through that. I think Kendrick grew up in Compton. You know, a lot of black people around. Kendrick himself is darker, things like that. So there's that identity crisis that I think Kendrick pokes at, that a lot of people poke at, that I think that Drake coming into the game, he had to deal with that a lot. On top of that, all right, on top of that, Drake has shifted from the calm, cool, collected dude. He just wants to kind of teach you how to get women to the don't test me. I'm about that action. I'm this, I'm that, right? I think that for people that maybe really lived that life or grew up in that environment, it can seem as if you're trying to imitate a certain culture or you're trying to do certain things to get attention. I'll give you an example. Right? I'll give you an example. There's white people that I talk to sometimes, and it's clear that they never grew up in the hood. They never grew up around black people. They don't talk with slang. They don't do any of that stuff, right? But when they're talking to me, they'll try to use those words and it doesn't sound right sometimes. It's like listening to somebody who cusses and they never cuss, but they're cussing now. It's like, you're saying that? That's the feeling that I think a lot of rap industry people get about Drake. Do I get that feeling personally? Not really, just because I kind of have insight to that. Me, I did grow up around black people. I did grow up around certain environments, but I just happen to talk very articulate, right? I speak very well, not because I sat around and studied white people and stuff. This is just how I talk. I've heard that my whole life. You don't sound like them. You're not one of them. So I can understand from Drake's perspective where he is a little bit more articulate than a lot of other rappers. He does not speak like he's from the hood and things like that. And on top of that, you're coming from an environment where there's not a lot of black people already. you may start to feel like you're not actually black. And then somebody's coming in, and I don't want to say somebody, just Kendrick, but a large part of the rap culture is coming in and saying these things about you. It can start to sit on your mind a little bit. It can start to sit on your mind a little bit. So I just think that Kendrick, he spoke personally about things that Drake was going through. All right, so we got some, let me read some comments. So he got a co-sign from Wayne. Kendrick still replied, though his words were constricting. J-Bone says, Drake will always be wheelchair kid on Degrassi to me. Hard to take seriously. Canada is diverse as well. That is a stretch. Has Kendrick been to Canada and seen the culture? Can't be a diss if you don't know how Drake truly grew up in Canada. So I think Drake has already come out and said he did not grow up like that. I think Drake said that his mother worked like very hard to put them in a nice neighborhood, spent more than she could really afford to get them in a nice neighborhood. And some of his songs, I think it's called Look What You've Done, he talks about driving his uncle's expensive car and things like that. I don't think anyone's arguing that Drake grew up in a city like Compton or grew up in the hood. Drake himself doesn't claim that. Canada as a Canadian is inclusive, yes, but it doesn't mean people don't struggle to identify here. LOL, no, there isn't. Rexdale can be rough. And yes, there's gangs, crimes, and guns, but I wouldn't say the rough areas in Canada compare to Compton. Right, and I don't think that Drake grew up in those rough areas. Like this is not a comparison of Canadian hoods versus American hoods. This isn't is Compton as bad as Drake's hood, because Drake didn't grow up in the hood. Drake will tell you this. If you go watch interviews where Drake is talking about his upbringing, I don't think you'll ever find that Drake says he grew up in the hood. I don't think you'll ever find that Drake talks about being in shootouts and things like that and being jumped into a gang. And listen, Drake's music isn't even around that. Drake pretty much, I think what Drake reminds me of is that pretty much like that Disney child or that child star who is now transitioning into adulthood, and they have to find that identity. Because as a child star, people are used to looking at you one way. They see you as that child character. They see you as the Hannah Montana. Not saying this is how they see Drake in terms of Hannah Montana, but just as an example. Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus went through this struggle where she played a child star, and then in the public eye, she wasn't really able to grow up, and it was hard for her to find her identity because people expect you to remain like that. They have this vision of you, this idea of you. I think Drake went through that as well. I think him being on Degrassi, him being like a nerdy kid or whatever on that show, just his cadence, the way he carries himself, he's not a hood dude. And you're gonna find that it's difficult coming into an African-American art form that's centered around violence, hood, gang culture, things like that. It's gonna be difficult. To be honest, I'm from the United States, right? I'm from the United States. I grew up in a semi-violent environment, things like that. And it would probably be hard for me to be accepted in a lot of these circles just because of the way that I talk. I mean, I can actually speak to that. There have been plenty of parties that I've went to where it was like gang parties. Like we're in the hood, we're chilling. I start talking to people and they're just surprised that, wow, you talk really well. They don't know what to make of me because they know I'm from here. They know that I am involved in this, but the way I talk can be off-putting or it can be confusing. And so I just think Drake doesn't fit into the mold, and hopefully he's already dealt with a lot of that. But I don't know. As far as the diss goes, I do think Kendrick had harder lines. I do think that he touched a little bit more of the pain points that Drake may have. Like I said, Drake, he made the catchy one. He made the petty, the funny thing that you can laugh at, kind of like the clowning. That's the way that I looked at it. Is like Drake made the clowning one, and Kendrick made the one where you come in and you're like, all right, bet. I'm gonna just speak facts though. I'm gonna speak just truth and things that I know sting a little bit. That's my interpretation of what happened between Kendrick and Drake. Like, I used to get in these roast battles, right? I used to get in these roast battles in school, and there'd be the dude that would talk about your hairline, and he talk about your smile, or he talk about this, he talk about that, right? But then there'd be that dude that you did not want roasting you, because he's gonna say some stuff that actually bothers you, right? He's gonna be the one to say, I saw you pull up with your parents in that raggedy ass car, y'all poor, right? Like, he's gonna say some stuff that actually bothers you. I feel like Kendrick said some stuff that actually bothers Drake. I don't think anything that Drake said bothers Kendrick. Kendrick knows he's short. I don't even know if Drake says that Kendrick wears a size 7 shoe. I don't even know if that's true. Maybe just an estimate. I don't know. It says, J-Bone said, Kendrick is just by far superior to Drake. Drake is a whiny ass emo rapper. Hey, I like Drake. I like Kendrick. What I will say is that I think Drake is a little more broad. I think he speaks to a broader audience. I think he makes hits. I think he makes it. The way that I look at this is like this, right? As a content creator, I know that there's certain content that people will react to and that people will engage with that isn't necessarily my style, but I know what to do in order to get those reactions. There's some content that I don't engage with or talk about, even though I know it will get more views, because that's just not me. I think a lot of rappers and people look at Drake in the same way, where they know that those poppy songs, those R&B type of songs, those will hit and those will get the views and attention, but they may not consider that rap. And if you're somebody who's fundamentally about the rap game and rap this and rap that, it may be off-putting for an artist to do that. Now, I'm not hating on Drake. I enjoy Drake's music. I'm a big Drake fan. He's one of my top artists. I'm just speaking from the perspective of the industry, right? Because as a content creator, I can relate. You know, like, there's like, I have I'd say over 1,000 videos at this point, pieces of content. I know that if I would have just talked about certain things or did certain things, I'd be bigger than I am now. But is that more authentic than doing it a different way? I think a lot of rappers look at it like, did you get to where you're at because you rapped, or did you get there because you sing and you rap and you make these poppy songs? I think that Kendrick is pointing that out. I think many people have said it before. I don't think anyone on Kendrick's level has directly came out, called Drake out, and said it publicly when there was this much attention on it. I don't know. It says Kendrick is, I'm reading some comments now. Kendrick is not better than Drake. You smoking dope too. How can you relate Drake and you from Canada? You hating on Drake, it's okay. You a K-Dot Glazer. All right. Because he raps, J-Bone says he raps about real shit. His lyrics have sustenance. Drake cries about everything, and Drake is auto-tuned and fake and emos as hell. Listen, I like both artists. I think this is healthy for the industry. At first, when this came out and they were dissing each other, I was like, you know, I don't want to just see two black men going at it again. This is what they like. But I think that this opens the door for creativity. Drake has been kind of pushing for this ever since Kendrick dropped Like That. He's pretty much has something in the vault. So Drake is saying, hey, look, I want you to drop. I'm waiting for you to drop. I got something in the vault. So Drake is apparently on standby. So I want to hear what Drake says, because here's the thing as well. Drake has come out with 2 tracks, right, going at Kendrick. And my interpretation is that was just Drake playing around, jabbing. And he has a cross in there somewhere. And the next thing he drops is supposed to be the cross. The thing that, like, okay, we was in the pushing phase. You push me, I push you. Let's see. Drake is apparently ready to swing now. No Diddy. Drake is apparently ready to swing now, and he has something in the vault. So it should be interesting, and you know, I'm ready. I'm ready for what happens, and it should be interesting. It should be interesting. We got some people on the live stream. Hit that like button real quick if you can. Hit that like button real quick. Just show support for the channel. If you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Go check out some more of my content as well. But hit that like button if you will. Just show a little bit of support for the channel. Yeah, hit that like button, please and thank you. Please and thank you. I'll read a few more comments, and then, you know, I'm here picking up some jerk chicken. So, Bombacrat. Nah. It says, who said I even need to relate in order to appreciate? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not putting either of these artists down. I think they're both talented in their own respect. There's some Kendrick music that I just can't relate to because I didn't grow up in gang culture. I don't live a certain lifestyle. So there's some things that Kendrick talks about that I can't relate to. Drake's music is a little bit more relatable to me in terms of dealing with women and just life things in general. Kendrick's is a little bit more relatable to me when it comes to being a black man and just living life through that lens and looking at things critically and analytically. We got Sean in the building. Hey, hey, hey. Sean says, hey, hey, hey. We just talking about this Kendrick. We talking about this Kendrick Drake diss back off. I don't know if you've heard this. Sean, we got Sean in the building. Go listen to this Kendrick and Drake beef. But listen, I may do a longer live stream on this topic. I wanted to just come in and give you my fresh thoughts on this topic. Really and truly, this jerk chicken is calling my name though. This jerk chicken, I'm outside the jerk chicken place. I can smell the jerk chicken. And yeah, may do a longer live on it, maybe tomorrow, sometime during the week. I'll do one more comment. It says, for me, I can listen to something and realize one artist has more substance and pulling from real life experience than Drake's emo ass raps. Listen, I have heard from people that they think Drake is a little more emo, on the emo side. His music is sad. This is stuff that you throw on when you are driving in the rain at nighttime. I don't necessarily consider it emo rap, but what I will say is that each artist has their own unique style. And the great thing is that there's so much content out there. There's so many artists for us to pick from nowadays. I think both artists are important for the industry. I think Kendrick is important for the culture. I think Kendrick drives culture more than Drake does, in terms of having his thumb on the culture. I think that Drake makes more hits. I think that Drake makes, I think Drake makes classics as well. I like both artists. This is just me commenting on the diss tracks. And I think right now, Kendrick has harder bars and Drake has a more catchy diss. But I'll hit y'all up later. I'll be on live. Make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, support the channel, and go check out some of my other content. Let me know what you think, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.